I used to believe oatmeal was one of the safest choices you could make for breakfast. For years, I recommended it to my patients as a heart-friendly, fiber-rich way to start the day. But then something started to bother me. Despite their best intentions, many of these same people were still struggling. They felt sluggish in the mornings, complained of bloating, or had a hard time managing their blood sugar, even though they were faithfully eating their bowl of oats every single day. At first, I couldn't quite explain it. But the deeper I looked, the clearer the truth became. The problem wasn't the oats, it was how we were eating them. Picture this. You wake up, tear open a packet of instant oats, pour in some milk, maybe stir in a little brown sugar and sliced banana, and walk away feeling like you've done something great for your health. But what if that well-meaning bowl is actually setting you back? What if it's quietly stirring up inflammation, spiking your blood sugar, or robbing your body of minerals that are crucial as you age? I've seen it firsthand, good people doing what they thought was right, only to end up more tired, more imbalanced, and more frustrated with every passing week. That's why I want to have this conversation with you today, not to scare you away from oatmeal, but to help you reclaim its true power. You see, oatmeal can be a deeply nourishing food, but only when you know how to prepare and pair it correctly. Over the years, I've discovered 7 silent mistakes that most people over the age of 40 make when it comes to this so-called superfood. These aren't just minor oversights. Some of them could be directly undermining your digestion, your energy, and even your metabolism without you realizing it. So, if you're between the ages of 45 and 75 and have ever wondered why you feel drained after breakfast or why your body just doesn't feel quite right anymore, stay with me. I promise you, what I'm about to share might change the way you look at this one small habit and possibly how you feel every single morning from here on out. One of the most common traps I see people fall into, and one I once fell into myself, is choosing convenience over quality when it comes to oatmeal. It sounds harmless, right? You grab a packet of flavored instant oats, rip it open, toss it in the microwave, and breakfast is served in under 2 minutes. But here's the problem. Most of those packets are laced with added sugars, artificial flavorings, and preservatives that quietly sabotage your health, especially if you're over 45. I had a patient named Linda, 61 years old, energetic, doing everything she thought was right. She told me oatmeal was her go-to breakfast because it was healthy and quick. But every time we checked her blood sugar, it was erratic. Her energy tanked by mid-morning. She was gaining weight even though her portions were small. It wasn't until we looked closely at the ingredients on her oatmeal packets that the real culprit emerged. Each one had more sugar than a chocolate chip cookie and barely any fiber left to support her digestion. What was worse, those quick oats digested so fast that they sent her blood sugar soaring only to crash soon after, leaving her hungry and exhausted again. When we switched her to old-fashioned rolled oats, just oats, no extras, and she sweetened it with fresh blueberries, cinnamon, and a touch of raw honey, the results were astounding. Her energy stabilized. Her blood sugar started behaving. And she stopped needing that second cup of coffee before noon. If you've been relying on those colorful packets thinking you're doing your body a favor, it's time to rethink. Oatmeal can still be fast, but it should never be fake. Choose whole, unprocessed oats. Let your toppings come from nature, not from a lab. Your body deserves the kind of fuel that supports it, not confuses it. Because over time, those small choices add up, and they shape not just how you feel, but how long and how well you live. Most people don't realize that the way you prepare your oatmeal could be the very reason you feel bloated, heavy, or simply off after eating it. I've heard it from countless patients. Doc, I eat healthy. I start every day with oatmeal. So why do I feel uncomfortable afterward? The answer often lies in a detail so simple, it's easy to overlook. It's not what's in the oatmeal, it's what you didn't do before you cooked it. Oats, like many grains, naturally contain something called phytic acid. It's a compound plants use to protect themselves, but in our bodies, it acts as an anti-nutrient. That means it can bind to vital minerals like calcium, zinc, and iron, preventing your body from absorbing them. And if you're in your 50s or 60s, already at risk of bone density loss or fatigue from low iron, that's a hidden danger you can't afford to ignore. Let me tell you about Mike. He's a retired teacher from Minnesota, 70 years old, sharp mind, eats clean, walks daily. But for years, he had low energy and brittle nails, even though his blood tests showed no glaring deficiency. When we reviewed his diet, I noticed he ate raw overnight oats every morning without soaking or rinsing them. Once we introduced a simple habit, soaking his oats overnight in water with a splash of lemon juice, things started to change. Within weeks, he noticed less bloating, steadier energy, and a big improvement in how he felt overall. Soaking oats isn't just an old-fashioned ritual. It's a science-backed way to make them easier to digest, reduce phytic acid, and unlock the minerals your body is craving. When you soak them for 6 to 8 hours, or better yet, overnight you're starting a natural enzymatic process that breaks down those anti-nutrients. A small step, yes, but one that can radically change how your body receives the food you give it. Think of it this way. Would you water a plant with dirty water and expect it to bloom? Of course not. Your body is no different. The way you prepare your food matters, sometimes even more than what's on your plate. Give it the care it needs, and it will reward you with strength, clarity, and calm from the inside out. There's a moment I'll never forget. A woman in her early 60s came into my office frustrated beyond words. She was eating what every magazine called a perfect breakfast oatmeal with almond milk and fruit. But by 10 in the morning, she was exhausted, irritable, and reaching for a muffin just to get through the day. She asked me, "What am I doing wrong?" And I told her the truth. Oatmeal, for all its goodness, is not a complete meal on its own. You see, oatmeal gives you complex carbohydrates and fiber, which are great, but without protein and healthy fats, those carbs break down quickly. That quick digestion causes your blood sugar to rise sharply, only to crash a little later, leaving you tired, hungry, and wondering why your body feels like a roller coaster before noon. It's not a flaw in you. It's just an incomplete plate. And here's the science. Certain vitamins in oats like vitamin E and other fat-soluble nutrients can't even be absorbed properly unless you pair them with a source of fat. And your metabolism? It thrives when each meal gives it the full spectrum of macronutrients, carbs, fats, and protein, so it can stay balanced and steady all morning long. So I asked her to do something simple. The next time she made oatmeal, she added a tablespoon of ground flax seeds, a spoonful of almond butter, and a side of Greek yogurt. Just a few days later, she came back beaming. "I made it to lunch without snacking," she said, "and I actually felt focused during my meetings." That wasn't a coincidence. That was the power of balance. You don't need to overhaul your kitchen. You don't need a chef. You just need to understand that oats are a wonderful foundation, but they need partners. A scoop of protein powder, a handful of walnuts, a sprinkle of chia seeds. These are the allies that turn a simple bowl of oatmeal into a breakfast that sustains you, fuels you, and honors the body you've worked so hard to care for. You've earned the right to feel good after breakfast, not just full, but focused, steady, and ready. And the best part? It only takes one small tweak at a time to get there. It's one of the most innocent mistakes people make, and one I see all the time among health-conscious folks. You want your oatmeal to taste rich and comforting, so you cook it directly in milk. It feels nourishing, creamy, even indulgent in the best way. But here's what almost nobody realizes. That one small choice could be quietly working against you, especially if you're trying to improve digestion or optimize your nutrient absorption as you age. Let me explain. Oats contain a plant protein called avenin. On its own, it's harmless and easy for most people to handle. But when you mix it with milk's casein protein and heat the two together, the combination becomes tougher to digest. That's particularly true for those of us over 50, when our digestive efficiency naturally starts to decline. You might not feel it right away, but over time, that subtle heaviness, bloating, or discomfort after breakfast could be traced right back to how you cooked your oats. But there's another hidden layer to this issue. Calcium, which milk contains in high amounts, actually competes with iron for absorption in your body. And since oats are a plant-based source of iron, cooking them in milk could reduce how much iron your body actually gets from the meal. For women nearing menopause or anyone dealing with low energy or mild anemia, that's not a trade-off you want to make without knowing it. I remember a man named Bill who came to me because he felt like he just couldn't shake his fatigue. He was eating oatmeal cooked in milk every morning, thinking it was the best choice. Once I explained the science and suggested he switch to water for cooking and add milk later after the oats were done, he gave it a try. 2 weeks later, he told me the bloating was gone, and for the first time in months, he actually felt clear-headed by mid-morning. That's the beauty of small adjustments. Cooking oats in water first allows the grains to fully soften without triggering digestive resistance. Then, once they're cooked, you can stir in a splash of almond milk, oat milk, or even traditional dairy without sacrificing comfort or flavor. Add a touch of vanilla, cinnamon, or nut butter, and you get all the warmth you crave, with none of the hidden downsides. At this stage of life, we don't have time to waste on foods that slow us down. We need every meal to work for us, not against us. And sometimes, the shift that makes all the difference is as simple as choosing when you add the milk. There's something I wish more people over 50 knew, especially those trying their best to eat plant-based or manage fatigue. Oatmeal, while rich in nutrients, contains a form of iron known as non-heme iron. It's the kind found in plants, and it's much harder for your body to absorb compared to the iron in meat. But here's the part that's often missed. When you eat non-heme iron without a source of vitamin C, most of that iron never makes it into your bloodstream. It passes right through you, unused. I remember sitting with a woman named Darlene. She was 67, sharp as a tack, and proud of her oatmeal routine: rolled oats, flaxseed, almond milk. Everything clean, she said. But she constantly felt tired, short of breath climbing stairs, and her iron levels were hovering just above deficiency. What turned the corner wasn't a supplement, it was an orange. Once I explained that pairing her oatmeal with vitamin C could radically improve her iron absorption, she started adding a few slices of kiwi or strawberries to her bowl, or sipping on a small glass of orange juice with breakfast. And just like that, within a month, her energy lifted, her labs improved, and more importantly, she felt like herself again. There's real science behind this. Vitamin C acts like a bridge. It helps transform plant-based iron into a form your body can recognize and use. Without that bridge, your efforts to nourish your body might fall short, no matter how well-intentioned they are. So if oatmeal is part of your morning, think about what's missing. Just a handful of berries, a splash of lemon juice, or a few segments of clementine can make all the difference. Not only do they brighten the flavor of your breakfast, but they activate the nutrition hidden in every spoonful. And for someone in their 60s or 70s, those small advantages are no longer optional, they're essential. We're not just eating to fill up anymore. We're eating to fuel memory, support bone strength, and stay vibrant for the life we still want to live. And the secret isn't always more food, it's smarter combinations. I know how tempting it is. You've got your bowl of warm oats in front of you, and just to make it more enjoyable, you drizzle on some maple syrup. Maybe toss in a handful of sweet granola or a spoonful of flavored yogurt. You tell yourself, it's still oatmeal, right? It has to be good for me. But I've seen too many well-meaning people, good, disciplined folks in their 50s and 60s, turn what could be a healing meal into a sugar bomb that sends their metabolism spinning. One of my patients, Gary, was 64 and newly retired. He wanted to clean up his health, So he started every day with oatmeal. But he couldn't shake the habit of topping it with brown sugar, a splash of cream, and some store-bought granola he believed was healthy. His blood pressure crept up. His waistline expanded. He came to me puzzled, saying, "I thought I was doing everything right." And that's where the hidden trap of oatmeal lies, not in the oats themselves, but in what we pile on top without thinking twice. You see, when you add too many sweeteners, whether it's honey, syrup, or even so-called natural sugars, you're not just adding flavor. You're adding rapid blood sugar spikes that lead to crashes, cravings, and hormonal chaos. And that granola? Many store-bought versions are full of refined oils, preservatives, and sugars that do more harm than good. Over time, this pattern doesn't just sap your energy. It fuels inflammation, weight gain, and puts strain on your heart and liver. But here's the part that's hopeful. You don't have to sacrifice flavor to eat clean. Real flavor comes from nature. Try warming your oats with grated apple, cinnamon, or unsweetened cocoa powder. Top them with toasted walnuts or sliced almonds. Add berries or mashed banana for natural sweetness. The difference is immediate. Your palate adjusts, your energy stabilizes, and your body responds with gratitude. When you reach your 50s or 60s, food has to do more than just taste good. It has to nourish, protect, and support every system that's been working hard for decades. Choosing toppings wisely turns your oatmeal into a tool for longevity, not just a treat for the moment. And when that shift happens, you'll find joy not just in the flavor, but in how your body begins to feel stronger, lighter, and more in sync with your goals. One of the most overlooked parts of a healthy breakfast isn't what you eat, but how much you eat. I've met so many people in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, who are eating all the right foods but still gaining weight, feeling bloated, or wondering why their energy crashes by mid-morning. And more often than not, the problem isn't the food itself, it's the portion. We've been trained to think that if something is healthy, more of it must be better. But your body doesn't work like that, especially not after age 45. Your metabolism slows down. Your digestive system becomes more sensitive. And what once felt like a satisfying meal in your 30s can feel like too much in your 60s. Oatmeal is a perfect example. It's rich in fiber, filling, and heart-healthy. But if you're eating a giant bowl without considering your activity level or calorie needs, it can tip the scale in the wrong direction. I remember a woman named Joyce, 70 years old, who prided herself on eating clean. She would prepare a full cup of dry oats every morning, thinking it was a modest start. But after calculating her caloric intake and pairing it with her mostly sedentary lifestyle, it became clear that her healthy breakfast was putting her in a daily calorie surplus. When we adjusted her portion to just under half a cup of dry oats, still filling when topped with fruit and protein, her energy returned, her weight stabilized, and the puffiness she'd been blaming on age began to fade. But the opposite is also true. I've worked with active retirees, men and women hiking, cycling, or gardening for hours each day, and they were under-eating. They'd feel lightheaded, foggy, or irritable by mid-morning, all because their oatmeal portions weren't meeting their body's real energy demands. That's the key here. Your ideal portion isn't based on a label or a rule, it's based on you. How much you move, how your body responds, how you want to feel. A general starting point for many is about half a cup of dry oats, but that's just a starting place. If you're training regularly or healing from illness, you might need more. If you're more sedentary or managing blood sugar, you might need less. There's no one-size-fits-all at this stage of life, and the sooner we honor that, the sooner we can unlock what true nourishment feels like. Eating with awareness doesn't mean eating less. It means eating with purpose. Every bite becomes more valuable when it's tailored to serve you, and that's how we stop guessing and start thriving. I've spent decades watching people try their best to live healthier, longer lives, and time again, I've seen how the smallest habits, ones we barely even questioned, can make or break how we feel every single day. Oatmeal, for all its wholesome reputation, is one of those habits. It has the power to support your heart, stabilize your blood sugar, and fuel your mornings with energy and calm. But only when you treat it with the respect it deserves. Now you know what most people never hear. That the kind of oats you choose, how you prepare them, what you pair them with, and how much you eat these things matter deeply. They shape not just your digestion, but your hormones, your immunity, your energy, even your clarity of thought. And at this stage of life, you deserve clarity. You deserve vitality. You deserve to feel good in your body again, not because you're chasing youth, but because you're honoring the life and wisdom you've earned. So, maybe you've made some of these mistakes before. Maybe you didn't know. That's okay. What matters is what you choose next. Because every bowl of oatmeal from here on out is a chance to get it right. To soak it the night before. To add the berries instead of sugar. To stir in the protein and fat that keeps you steady. To give your body what it truly needs, not just what's convenient. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to start noticing and then adjusting, one morning at a time. The difference won't be dramatic overnight, but over weeks, then months, it will show. In your digestion, in your joints, in your mood, in your confidence, in how you wake up and how you carry yourself through the day. I believe deeply that health after 50 is not about restriction. It's about alignment. It's about understanding your body's changing needs and responding with love, with wisdom, and with intention. And if something as simple as oatmeal can become your tool for healing, imagine what else is possible. You're not just eating breakfast. You're building momentum for the life you want, one bowl at a time.